Alrighty, everybody. Time to get ourselves started. Maybe we'll do future pop today. I can't move forward because of your butt, George. Just saying. Yeah, butt. It's a butt George problem. He's like, I'm not moving. Nothing you can do. I'm not moving. I found myself a nice, happy, comfy place. It's right underneath you, so you'll just have to deal with it. Okay. Well, that's the thing. Okay. I'm really trying to push to get this done. It still needs a lot of bits of work here at the very end. Like all of this through here is now complete. The first half of this is done. It's just the last half, and the last half we've got we understand what's going on here. But I'm still trying to get kind of through this section here. I don't know why there's problems with this. I'm not having problems with it. This is actually pretty much the exact same process that I go through every time with a script. It's a birthing process. It takes a while, but this is 2 episodes at the same time. So this is 2 comics at the same time, and it will finish this episode completely. So we've gotten the first half, and then looking over at issue 2. Issue 2 is actually in far better shape too. Like all of this is a little chunky, and it needs one more pass. And so is this. And I can tell when there's this much writing, it needs one more pass. But last night, one of the things that I really came up with that I was proud of was this scene. Oh, thanks. George moved. I can get up here. Let me get closer. Right? So last night, Brent, I went through and fixed this scene, which once had a bunch of techno babble in it. And I just rattled on for a long time. But now it's very personable and accessible. So starts here. We've got rain falling on the ship. There's the captain's quarters. Here's the window to the captain's quarters. In here is the captain sleeping in her bed, except she's not sleeping. Heavy sigh. She sits up. Behind her, you can see her uniform and a bathrobe. She reaches for the uniform, decides against it, and goes to the bathrobe. Yeah, I did. And then here's her walking barefoot through the hallways. She's looking at the floor and entering into the front lounge on deck 5. And in there is Tom. And he goes, "Hey, Skipper, can't sleep?" She walks over to the coffee maker, makes coffee. And then he says, "Coffee, that'll be great for sleep." And she says, "Shush, it's comfort food." Right? And then she sits down and she goes, "It's weird not having to wear a pressure suit. This planet is weird." And she drinks her coffee. He just decides, okay. And so gets back to reading. Right? Continues reading through here. And she goes, "Okay, so hear me out. What if we project a gravity mote inside Moment's star?" And he goes, "You planning on playing a prank?" And she goes, "No, The gravity profile is all screwed up here in Moment because of what happened, right? And he goes, oh. And she goes, yeah. And then he goes, you'd foul the solar system maybe for years. In-space drives would just spin out. And she says, yeah, but those Commonwealth destroyers wouldn't be able to get in. And then he says, yes, so. Of course, we also won't be able to get out. Then there's just a panel where she drinks coffee again. And he goes, wow. She goes, yeah. Right? So that puts an end to that scene. And there, I didn't have to go through all of the double talk. She's just come up with a magical thing about motes and stars or whatever. But the technobabble is one sentence long, or one sentence long. And the only reason I'm being short about this is that I'm in here trying to get this thing done. And I know that I will sidetrack about that 55-minute long video you sent that I spent all morning watching. And I don't want to get back to it because I didn't finish it. So it's 55 minutes long. The thing that really bugged me about that particular video, though, was all of the cameras were the same as like the ones that they had on the launch pad. They put all the cameras behind the water suppression system. And I'm like, why would you do that? I did think it was cool that all the cameras burned up, though. That was kind of cool. But all of the cameras were like behind the water suppression system. I mean, not all of them, but it sure did feel like it. I think we should probably make it so she's got some kind of shelter over her. And that way, let's see, it's still raining outside. Just not raining where she is. Is that the cat? Yeah. It should look like George. I'm not messing with a black cat. I mean, legitimately, black cats are hard to draw because you have to draw them, and then you have to draw all of the shiny hair. Otherwise, it's just a big black silhouette. I already have a lot of characters with black hair that have to do the little shiny silhouette thing. That's such a pain. All right. Did that. That seems done. Except for right here. Hi, Rob. Hi, Sarge. I'm scripting, so it's not as interesting as it could be. Sorry about that. Bye, Sarge. Good to see you. It's I used to listen, or I do listen periodically, to Dan Carlin's Hardcore History podcast, which is a great podcast if you're interested in deep dives into the history, not just, this is what happened, but that's cool. Um, Deep dives into history, and it's one of those things that is fascinating. And I've been listening to his podcast about World War II from the Japanese perspective. Not the Japanese perspective, but rather explaining the Japanese side of World War II. It's really still from the Americans' perspective per se, but one of the things he says is, we have to talk a little bit here about logistics with MacArthur and what he's trying to do to get the army through to this part of the side of the battle, even though it's under Admiral Nimitz's control because it's a Navy battle. And he says this is not the sexy part of the war, of course, because this is all about numbers and trying to get machines into the right place at the right time. And I feel like that whenever I'm writing on the script. This isn't the sexy part of comic book writing. This is the unsexy part. This is the part where I go through and try to figure out what the hell each one of these scenes needs to be, and whether we're hitting an arc that's readable and understandable, and stuff like that. It's the unsexy parts. This is the not sexy part of comic book authoring. But this podcast is this stream is what we call a body doubling stream. So if you are an ADDer or you're on the spectrum in some way, and I am, one of the things that we have discovered is that spectrum-y people work better if you are in a situation where you work with other people. You're supposed to, it's now time, everybody's sitting down to get to work, and it's now time to do our work together. You don't need somebody to watch you. You don't need somebody to, keep reminding you to do work. You just need to sit next to somebody. And we have a compulsion, and we want to sit next to somebody and do work. So that's what this is. This stream is all about that. It's come on in, join me. I'll be here for the next hour and a half, and you can sit down and do your work, and I'll do my work. And if other people join me, sometimes I have other artists on here, and they may join me. Pepper might join in the next hour or two. Pepper might join in the next 20 minutes or so. He tends to do that. And if not the next 20 minutes, he won't be here. And sometimes Ken joins in the morning, but he owns a farm, so he has to go out and feed all the animals and stuff like that. So, but either way, you can join me and do work or whatever you want to do. Or if you're playing a game right now that you just want to kind of keep the stream going, sometimes we get into discussions and stuff. It's kind of interesting. That might not be the cleanest. I might have to come back here for it. So I used to write like traditional comic artists did. And what I would do is I would write a script in Word, and then we'd lay the script out on paper. after people checked my script 3 or 4 times. And we'd lay it out on paper, and then I'd fuss with it and adjust it and move it around until everything fits. And what I have realized is that doesn't work. Not for me. It works for other people, I'm sure, but it does not work for me. What works for me is to do this, which is, here are all 32 pages of this comic as little white squares, right? They're not that little, but because this is a high resolution page. And we will sit here and fuss with this until I am happy with what each page says. And then I'll go through and work it and work back and forth and fuss with it and fuss with it and fuss with it. And then once I do, I have a complete script, and then I transfer these pages over to the final product page and then do the actual page work at that point. And this is called more like the Stan Lee Marvel method than anything else. It's one of the things that Stan Lee used to do is he would draw the pages with bubbles, and then it would be up to the writer to fill those bubbles with dialogue. And the more I think about this, the more I think this gives me more freedom to do some of the things that I keep thinking I need to do when I draw. For hello, Ken. When I want to make these pages, I feel like this method is making me less wordy as a writer and more showy as a writer, so more things showing. The colors that surround each one of these pages indicate the pulse of the episode, the pulse of the comic. The dark greens are high points. The red is the lowest point. And that's where we're working on it now. Okay, let's get into this scene right here. The thing about this rewrite is that I have sort of reset it a little bit here. When I redo these, I move the old dialogue up into this section up here. And then that way, This should give me a little bit more room. What is the kid's name? What would be funny for her to name that cat? Maybe not Spot, though. Although Spot would be funny. Luna, Shadow, Angel, Leo, Pepper, Milo, Bella, Charlie, Felix, Oliver, Oreo, Simba, Raven, Coco, Rocky. Dun 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 dun. Shadow. I like Shadow. Except that also means that he has to be black, which is exactly what Fred just said. You could be like George. I'm like, yeah. don't want to do a black cat. Hard to draw a black cat. Max. Maybe Max is a good name. Max. What do you mean? Oh, because I was seeing you Rocky? All right, there we go. Music is the name of the magic in my story. It's not magic, it's Arthur C. Clarke's magic. As in Arthur C. Clarke's law version of magic. Any sufficiently advanced technology will be indistinguishable from magic. It's Clarke's law. So this is a technology that is way beyond what the people on this planet or the people in my story usually use. Therefore, it's called music, and it's a magic. It's music with a capital M, though. That's a different thing. Now things are starting to happen. So now we've got thunder. And then she says, no, that ship is preparing to leave. And then things start to glow. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what Can's talking about. I started singing the Rocky theme for a minute there. I had to think up a name for my cat in this comic. And so I just went and Googled like cool names for a cat. Because she names him this, and she's a 14-year-old girl, so I figured it's not going to be horribly clever. I mean, it's going to be somewhat trite. And so I figured I didn't want to give any kind of name that would actually mean something or have some kind of meaning, because I figured she'd just name him after her cat that she had back at home or whatever. So she names him Max. And I was just going through the names, and one of them was Rocky. And I'm like, if I named my cat Rocky, all I would do is just go through the house going dun 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 dun, and I wouldn't be able to stop. So, and then Can's like, I just had a mental breakdown on screen. I'm like, but is singing the Rocky theme? I don't know. Okay, so now we are adding the last element. This element is the most important piece of this story, and this scene in these 3 pages or 4 pages are going to be our these are going to be the 4 pages where you get to understand about music. Music is magic. It's not real magic because it's, like I said, it's Clark's Law magic. So it's an indistinguishable from magic because it's sufficiently advanced technology. Right? I was about to say, I don't know what Can's talking about there. How you doing, Bishimoda? Oh, have you been playing Kerbal 2? Because the new patch seems to be doing a whole lot better. I mean, like, my rockets don't play wiggly anymore now when they get up there, and I don't have that random... It just blew up. That was pretty... Yep, Clark's second law. But it's Clark's Law, which is effectively any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. So, she has... And the magic here is called music with a capital M. Unity doesn't believe in music, but the Commonwealth does. I've noticed that we were lacking like all kinds of great science pieces to stick in my cargo bay. I usually make like cargo bays and then just load them up with every little device I can think of to do all kinds of wonderful science. And I just stick them all into a shuttle bay and then close the doors on it. You know, I'm always excited about that. All right. I like that law too. I don't think I've ever known that law. I mean, but it's right. What's so funny is that they brought up Clark's Law in Strange New Worlds, and so now it's canonized into Star Trek, which is even cooler. All right. Hmm. Clark's third law. He has a lot more laws than I thought he did. It's not to be confused with Asimov's laws, which are interestingly telling about their era when they came out. The robotics laws. Yep. But at the moment, this is a technology that nobody in the galaxy has. And that quote stands. Right? I feel like mess things up isn't the right wording. Probably better that way. You don't remember dying. I'm just saying. We have a job to do. We have a job to finish. We have a job to finish. can't seem to remember. That says Max. Alex says that's okay. I don't remember it either. I just knew it. But the captain is about to make things harder than it needs to be. I want to say does something stupid. So it's time for us to get to work before she. It's time for us to get to work. Maybe it's time for us to get to work. Because you already sort of said, here, that captain's about to make things harder than it needs to be. So it's time for us to get to work. Chase this below without her. All right, so so I'm eating through this scene that we've already designed for. I've already set up for us back on the kitty wig. feel like there's a part of this plan that's involving her needing to be in a place where nobody else is around. And so that's part of the reason why so many people are dead in this area, because the music that's going on, the powers that be, are somewhat indifferent to the lives that are being sacrificed for this. I can't tell whether I want this next line to be from Max or from Alex. I'm glad you do. I'm glad you submitted it. Okay, so I'm locking up on this, which means that this isn't the right time to say the things that I'm thinking should be put on this page. I put a lot of faith in my muses to tell me the things that I need to put down and things I'm not. And whenever I can't come up with a good solution for a page like this, then that means that the muses are not as interested in doing this as, could be. So originally I was going to have her talk about the people who have died. But I don't think it's time for us to discuss the people who have died for this. It doesn't feel right. So we're coming out of this scene, and here's what's happening. We've got Alex on the planet. She's already said a couple of cryptic things prior to this scene, right? So right up here, we see her in the shelter. She's making cheese in the replomat. She's eating the cheese and she's hearing something, and then she goes, I knew you'd show up. This thing makes good cheese. You want some? And then a cat shows up. She tries to offer the cheese to the cat. And then the cat says, how much do you remember? So all of a sudden now we have a change. That cat can talk, right? And then she says, I remember the ship blowing up, an overload, and that you don't like tuna. And he says, I do like tuna, just not the way you made it. So she says, it's been a while, hasn't it? And he goes, yes. She goes, did it work? Sort of. And then he says, did you tell them? And she goes, about me? No. But I think the captain suspects something. She's sharp. I don't think she'd believe me anyway. I wouldn't believe her. This is good cheese. Right? So we're still talking about the cheese from the rubber mat. And then she says, I can't explain it. It's like a feeling that something big will happen. That captain, I feel she's going to do something. We might have to do something about it. And that's all the cryptic lines there. Then we go into the scene that I was working on last night, where Chang comes down and sits next to Tum and says, so I have this idea. There's nobody alive that they need to rescue at this point. Just Pepper. We just need to rescue Pepper. We just need to rescue
Hello.
Pepper. Hello.
Ta-da.
So then we go. It's a little blurry. Oh, okay. It's getting better. I like it. Is that what you're working on today?
Yeah. I have so this page and the next page that I have to get done have a commercial break within the comic.
That's interesting. Which reminds me of something that Raph and I were talking about, which is I had him put an ad for Pia in my comic on the back page. And I was thinking I would like to, with each one of these, put an ad for all of our comics from one to another on all of these pages. So, like, I would like for you to draw a page ad for the back for your comic and where to find it and how to get to it and yada, 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 yada.
Okay.
The same for Kayan. So that the last page will always be somebody else's comic sort of thing in my comics.
Well, this one, the commercial on this page is for the Sasquatch motifed cereal called Sassy Oats.
Yes, that's not the same thing I'm talking about, but okay. Yeah.
The next page has what is it? The Fresno Nightcrawler. Fresno Nightcrawler leggings.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll have to figure out what to do for the advertisement though that you're asking for.
Yeah, it's not urgent. These two comics are still in thumbnail mode.
Mm.
So it's going to be a little bit before I'm ready.
Mm. So, how's your snow going?
Yeah, right? It's like really wet and not snow-like. Very weird. Yeah, those boards are amazing. I love your boards whenever you do those work pieces. Those are great.
No.
Okay, now this scene. Got one more line I just think we need to make it hit. I'll get there. So let's read through the scene. There's rumble. Max says thunder, and she says no. The ship is preparing to leave, and she's starting to glow. And she looks at her hand and she says, "It's time." And Max says, "Music? Wait, there's music here?" And she says, "There's music all over the place, Max. This whole place is bathed in music. That's why the Commonwealth are rushing in."
Hey guy, I don't know if you noticed this or not, but the music is louder than your voice.
No, I didn't notice that. Why am I so loud, so quiet all the time? What is going on with my board? I wonder if my microphone took a hit when it fell the other day. Pretty much got this thing turned all the way up, and the game is turned all the way up. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, I can hear you better. I'll blame George.
It's George's fault. We'll blame George. There we go. Turn the gain all the way up. That should help us a little bit. Hi, George. I'm glad you came in here to just say hi just now. That was weird. You were like, "I blame George," and then George rubs up against my foot. I'm like, that was weird timing on your part, Cat. Very weird timing. Okay. So, back to the beginning here. There's a rumble, and then Max, the cat, says thunder. And Alex turns and says, "No, that ship is preparing to leave." And then her hand is starting to glow. And she looks at her hand and says, "It's time." Max looks at her hand and says, "Music? Wait, there's music here?" And she says, "There's music all over the place, Max. This whole planet. That should be planet. This whole planet is bathed in music." It's why the Commonwealth are rushing in. And then she kneels down and says, "Max, you and I were dead. We were killed." And he goes, "I can't seem to remember that." And she says, "That's okay. I don't remember it either. I just know." And then she goes, "Anyway, we better get a move on. Things are about to get interesting." And she stands up, but Max doesn't want to move. And then this panel here on it says, Max says, "So this is part of another scheme. We are once again being used as pawns in someone else's war." And she says, "This is different, Max." And now I'm trying to figure out what she says here. "This is different, Max. This time we're fixing it." Or something like that. She needs to say, "This time we're repairing." This time we are here to put things right. There we go. That's the way that should end. This time we are here to put things right. Maybe she needs to say, "Last time we broke things." There we go. This time we're here to put things right. Someday I'll write about the Titan War, and when I do, all of this will make a lot more sense first run. Like, all of the stuff that happened in the Titan War, is part of what they're talking about here. But I'm not going to talk much about that because that gives away the big story arc right there. I don't want to do that.
Well, you don't want to give away too much of your story.
Right?
I went almost the whole morning without coughing. I joined the show.
Almost, but didn't quite make it, huh?
Problem is, I went outside this morning.
Yeah.
Ooh. Ooh.
That sounds perfectly reasonable, Cam.
Go.
Hey, Brent. Ooh, I wrote too much. Now my hand's getting all spazzy. Where is the Pixie Lightfoot going? Let's see. I wrote too much. Let's take a shot away. Where is the Pixie Lightfoot going? Gap jump? Probably gap jump. We went to gap jump. Is 1, 2, 3, 4. Up 1, so about 5 light years. Easy. It's an easy one. Maybe not the wake. All right. So we've got the kitty wake powering up, and then somebody says chamber pressure is green, so we're ready to lift off. And Chang says, "I'm so sorry, Mr. President," and then cuts to looking at the president on the screen, and he says, "I totally understand, Captain. We can make this work. We brought 2 more industrial replomats online yesterday. Thomas Bregman has opted to stay with us, so we can use all of her cargo." And then Chang says, "The other freighter, the Pixie Lightfoot, made way last night. She'll be clear of the system in 24 minutes. She's taking a message buoy back to Gap Jump." So, giving a feeling that they know that the system is going to be terminated and cut off from the rest of this of that. Here, let me move this for you. So you can come over here and get scritches. This is an important part of your day. Come over here to get scritches. Oh yeah, that's what you need, scritches. You need lots of scritches. You always need scritches. My weird little cat. And nobody has seen your butt today. So it's very important and critical that you come up here and show your butt to my entire audience. Nobody's seen your butt yet. There we go. Not today. We have to keep up our only paws, don't we? Yeah, we do.
Well, how else is he supposed to afford his rent?
Right? This is how you make rent here. In your only paws.
You should parody that in the comic.
Yep. I feel like the other freighter, I don't know. Feel like I'm trying to not make it sound. One thing that always irritates me about stories is when they put
Mhm.
exposition in
Mhm.
dialogue that doesn't, you know, it always sounds so weird whenever it's like, Pepper, you know that you and I are both artists, and so we must use this paint to fix this problem. You know what I mean? Like, like we wouldn't say that. That sounds so strange. You know, since you and I are both artists, you know that we both use pencils, right? It's such a strange thing to say. So I
Well,
feel like if they're talking about the three space-worthy ships that we've already been talking about for like 5 or 6 days that are in the system, there are only three ships in the system that are space-worthy:
yeah.
two freighters and the Kittiwake. So what I really need to do is somewhere along the line mention them as freighters in some other part of the story where they kind of introduce them so that she doesn't have to say the other freighter, the Pixie Lightfoot, you know, because you can just say, um, right. I think she could probably get away with just saying, you know, the captain or the president says the Thomas Bregman has opted to stay with us so we can use all of her cargo. And then it should be come back to the captain and she says the Pixie Lightfoot made way last night. Should be clear of the system in 24 minutes. And that should be enough to tell you that we're talking about the two freighters.
Uh-huh.
I think. So I'm gonna put you down so I can finish this thing. I know you want to hang out with me. I know you want scritches. It's the way it goes. Doesn't everyone? Yeah. Can, as we are both artists, you know that we must draw comic books. Yeah. Why would you do that? It doesn't make sense. Oh god. So let's go fix this. Somewhere else, probably in the other episode. Oh, here we go. Let's fix this real quick before we go do that. there. That wrapped that up. Yeah. It's because Florida is not making their lives easy. And Disney is
What's up?
going to war with them. Brent's talking about the fact that they're going to shut down the Galaxy Star Cruiser Hotel in Florida at the end of September.
Disney?
Yep. Because DeSantis keeps trying to do all of these weird things. And I don't know. It seems a tactically bad move, and I'm not sure what he's doing. Because he's intentionally pissing off Disney, which is one of Florida's like biggest money makers.
Well, if he closes down Disney World, I assure you there will be residents leaving because a lot of people love their Disney discount.
Yes.
But also at the same time, every Floridian child goes to Disney World for graduation.
Yes.
And it's like a traditional thing there.
It's such a big joke that the rest of the nation makes that joke now.
Yeah.
You know, Pepper, you've just graduated college. Where are you going next? I mean, like, it's now nationwide. We all make that joke.
Yeah.
You know? By weird, you mean genocide? Wait, what are you talking about, David? Where are you? Are you talking about my story? Or are you talking about the DeSantis problem? Because DeSantis is definitely weird.
Well, the other thing that a lot of people are doing is they're also blowing a lot of the policies and stuff that he's passing. That they find one part of it and they blow it out of proportion.
Yeah, that's normal. I'm noticing that happens a lot.
Right now, I think the big one is the voting thing that he just passed, which I don't know the full details on, but apparently Florida has had the worst track record when it comes to voting.
Yeah.
Folks, I just want to say, like, I live there. That's where I voted first.
Right.
And, like, so, I mean, there's really, but Disney closing down parts of their park or their hotels and stuff like that, I'm going to say right now, they do that frequently on a normal basis.
Right. That may not have anything to do with it.
So, yeah, like, they do that when it's a lull in the season or something like that. Yeah, it goes both ways. It's like, there can be a lot of good in those, but then there's, like, always something in there that will be outrageous, and that's the one part that everyone basically takes. That's the one thing that everyone focuses on.
Wow.
So
they did ban gender affirming medical care. He did sign a law.
Yeah.
So you can't have puberty blockers.
No.
But
there's also a bunch of states now that are becoming safe haven states.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but that shouldn't be happening. Ooh.
Well, welcome to Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, right. So that's called Florida. So for those of you who are watching at home, that's Florida SB 254 bill, and that cleared and got signed. Wow.
Yeah. And the thing is if anyone wants to actually really be clear about the negative side effects of that, I just want to point out that this would have never happened had certain people voted differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Signed into law a bill that bans gender affirming medical care such as puberty blockers or hormone therapy for transgender youth, and also enacts obstacles for adults to access treatment. Taking effect in the third most populous U.S. state, the law escalates a Republican political strategy to pursue bills restricting transgender rights. More than 500 bills affecting LGBTQ matters have been proposed across the country, and at least 48 have been enacted. Wow. Such bills were once mostly limited to regulating changing rooms in women's sports, but have expanded to limiting healthcare access even for transgender adults. In some cases, legislation has sought to charge parents and doctors with child abuse if they provide treatment to transgender youth. This will, quote, this will permanently outlaw the mutilation of minors, end quote, DeSantis said in a bill signing.
I would like to point out that gender affirming, as far as top and bottom surgeries for transgender people in the state of Florida prior to this, could not be done before they were 18 anyway. This was an unnecessary law.
Right. All it's really
doing, not allowing bottom and top surgeries for children pretty much across the United States. They have to be legal adults.
Yeah. It's like tattoos.
Yeah.
Although tattoos, I guess, are starting to creep down into...
This is fear-mongering.
Yep.
This is deflecting.
And I mean,
they're trying to push through other issues.
Well, here it is. Here's him, because what you just said is true. And here's the fear-mongering. I mean, they're trying to do sex change operations on minor. This is a quote. Giving them puberty blockers and doing things that are irreversible to them, the Republican governor said. Surgery for minors is exceedingly rare and only occurs after extensive monitoring by multiple medical professionals, says Routers. A group of parents of transgender children immediately challenged the law, filing an emergency request in federal court to block its implementation.
And may I say, in cases of where it's a male to female or a female to male, where they have done them prior to 18, it's because of life-saving
it's usually medical
measures, not of anything else.
Which makes sense. Even if my child were to, and I'm particularly liberal, even if my child were to suddenly come up to me and say, I think I'm really a female, I wouldn't just rush him down to the hospital and have him sex change. You know what I mean? Like, there would be a lot of talk. We'd go for a few years discussing it, making sure that, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like I just like, oh, you want to be a girl? That's fine. You know, like, it would take some work. There would be discussions. We'd have to go through talking about it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just something you just drop. I need to finish what I was doing before I forget, because I'm going to forget. Because I just named these two freighters.
Yeah.
And if I don't write it down in the stupid notes on issue 2. I won't talk about it.
Yeah, puberty blockers actually are reversible. You stop taking them, and your body starts producing the normal hormones again. Right. After a little bit. After 18, the child is now a legal adult. They don't need a parent's permission, and typically they won't do anything until after 18 anyway.
Yeah.
In most states.
Right. What's irreversible about puberty blockers? Nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a mechanics question that has no... I'm not saying anything political here. I'm actually horribly curious. If I were to give my son puberty blockers right now and waited until 18, would he still be this little fluffy guy that's like 4'9" and whatever at 18? Does that stop him from growing?
No, it doesn't stop them from growing. They still grow tall. They still grow whatever they're going.
But they would but he would just be like a 6 foot tall child, effectively, in body and shape. No body hair or any of that.
He won't have body. Well, no, body hair still occurs.
Okay.
Body hair
will
still
his voice
occurs.
Change?
The voice may not change. Basically, what will happen is it stops certain points of puberty. Yeah. They
secondary. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay. Fascinating.
Basically, they look androgynous.
Yeah, I would figure that would be pretty much what it would be.
Yeah.
I mean, because right now he hasn't hit puberty yet anyway, and he still looks kind of androgynous. You can't tell whether he's a he or a she. It's only his mannerisms that make you kind of read in that he's male, which makes some sense. Yeah. But even his mannerisms are somewhat ambiguous, which is typical for prepubescent people. I was just curious. I was like, wonder what that means,
Yeah. There's also, there's another part of puberty that people don't actually understand, is when you start smelling. Your body starts smelling.
Yep. His body's starting to smell, and he likes to stick his feet on us, and we have issues now. We have lots of discussions about, no, don't put your feet on me, weirdo. Everybody's a weirdo in this household, just so you know. That's not a specific term for him.
Yeah. The thing is you don't... Once you actually... The process in Florida when I was before everything, from my understanding was... Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I do not consent to smell your feet.
The process in Florida, from my understanding, is for a good long time, you had to live your life as the opposite gender before a doctor would even consent to any type of surgery.
Right.
Now, the sooner, when you're a child, like you were just saying, you just let them just wear whatever they want. They'll be perceived however that it is if they're young enough.
Yeah, I mean,
the only time that you really have to worry about it is puberty.
Well, and I mean, one of Kai's friends was claiming to be a girl for a while, and then spent like half of 6th grade being androgynous, and now is back to being a boy. So it is clear that given latitude, they will poke and prod. You know what I mean? Like move around in that space. And I think that freaks people who, have a structured universe in their mind, it messes with their structured universe.
Right.
But I mean, kids poke and prod about everything, you know. And when they're teenagers, they spend a lot of time trying to decide what they are. I mean, even if you're not, sex aside, when I was a teenager, you know, I was doing the, do I like anime? Am I an anime fan or am I a Trekkie? I mean, as in, like, where do I identify, if you will? There's all kinds of things you're trying to identify. Not, you know, sex notwithstanding. So it's one of those things. It's kind of like it's like the other things that they're into. Why are you quantifying this? This sounds like something that's this is between parents and kids and, you know, doctors, and this shouldn't be a state issue at all. It's you're messing with, you know, it's the, you know, it feels like it's the state will now tell you to be this way, which is just going to make those kids decide to not be this way. You know?
Well, it's like the Florida teacher that just got in trouble for showing Strange World from Disney.
Right.
And the only problem is there's an LGBTQ youth character in it, which goes against some of the legislation that's already been passed. Right. Here's the deal. It's not in your face. If anyone's watched this movie, it's not in your face. It's just, it's a blip in the story. It's not the main focus of the story.
Right.
The main focus of the story is a family unit coming back together. Yep. I don't see a problem in it.
I don't either. Well, I mean, I've never seen a problem because none of this offends me in any way. I mean, so, you know, I can't. Like I said, the war we fought in my generation's youth was normalizing homosexuality, because in the 80s we had the AIDS epidemic and things like that, and so that was our big fight. It taught me that was a good fight to fight, because it taught me to, you know, let people be. It's none of our business.
Well, we're still fighting that same fight.
We are still fighting that fight, but what I'm trying to say is, like,
it's still the same fight. It's just different characters.
Yeah, it's still the same. Yes, I'm not disagreeing. Yep. But what I'm saying is that taught me, I had to open up and learn what that meant. You know what I mean? Like, I had to figure out where my stance was, and to figure out, you know, whether I thought this was important or not, or whether that was important. But moreover, it's the first time that I met people who were in that oppressed setting. I didn't know. Yeah. You know, I'd never experienced it before. I don't know where I was going with that specifically, because I started out with a theory and then just rattled until I kind of came to a stop, and I'm not sure exactly where I was going. I was heading somewhere.
No, that's fine.
But I ADD blipped it. Okay. Let's see if I can do this. Ooh. It's almost perfect. I can put this behind there.
Why do we have a green screen again?
Well, I have a green screen. Well, but I had been curious as to whether I could deploy my green screen in here or not, and whether it would be useful or not. Hannah, but my shirt matches my green screen,
with the exception of the koala.
so I just disappear.
Well, not quite. Your arms, head, and koala will be visible.
Then I'd have a floating koala and a floating head.
In floating arms.
And floating arms.
Yes.
I'd be a talking head.
Yes.
Just saying. I'm just saying. Not useful. No, there have been a couple of times where I have been in meetings, and it's like all the stuff behind here has been extra confusing to people and distracting, especially like the warp core and stuff like that. So I was like, I have this huge green screen deployable. So I was wondering if I could make the green screen work, and I could. But I'm going to go to lunch with Anna because she just showed up.
Okay, well.
So I'm leaving you.
11:12, so we're already past the point of stopping.
This is a good stopping point, everybody. Which is good. Okay. Is today Friday?
Today's Friday.
Today's Friday. I won't be on show tonight. So I'll see you all Sunday night. So, as always, thanks for being here, B. Shimoda. Thanks for being here, Brent. Thanks for being here. Who do we have today? Oh, Nightbot. Look at Nightbot. Thanks for being here, Nightbot. Thanks for being here, David. And we will see. And of course, Can was on here, but he was trapped by blankets, so there was nothing he could do about it. And let's see what else. Oh, we had Rob. Back in the very beginning, we had Rob here for a minute, but then Rob left. So, but thanks for being here, Rob, and everything like that. And as always, keep your eyes on the stars. Bye-bye.